I didn't get around to beating Cuphead and writing a review on it because I decided that my time was better spent doing those two betas, the Star Wars Battlefront and Call of Duty betas. But I definitely do have some thoughts on Cuphead, especially since it was a game that I was excited for and anticipating for a long time now. At the time of recording this, Cuphead has just passed 1 million units sold, which is really impressive to me considering that it's not even on PlayStation 4. And in the 2 weeks that it's been out, Cuphead has created a ton of buzz. In fact, it's in video game spheres like one of the only things I've seen talked about for the past 2 weeks, just incessantly. And there's definitely more people playing the game and talking about it online than there were people anticipating the game before its launch. I would say like 5 times as many, which is a really cool thing, and I'm sure the developers are very thrilled about that, in addition to Microsoft as well. I'm sure they're very happy that they put their backing behind this game, because that's a huge win to pick up a little indie game like this and put some funding into it, have them put a little more development time into it, add a little bit more content, and have it be a success on a scale that you could not have imagined before it coming out. The game's also had a fair share of controversy around it. There was that infamous Twitter video of the game's journalist attempting to play the tutorial of Cuphead. I'm sure everyone watching this, I'm sure you've seen that video. And it kind of raised a discussion of whether people reviewing games should be good at games, all this. And then on the other side, I've seen a lot of games journalists voicing their view that the game is maybe too hard. They don't like that people fetishize games being hard, arguments of this nature. So that's the first thing to talk about. Is this game really hard? Is it unreasonably hard? Which is an interesting thing to talk about, because when I was excited for this game and saw, preview footage of it, trailers of it, gameplay footage of it, I did not peg it as being like this super hard game, that would be the draw to the game, but in some respects it kind of has been the draw to the game for a lot of people. Now, I have not beat the game. I have like one boss left on Inkwell Island 2. Like I said, I have not had time to play the game a ton. Played about 4.5 hours, about halfway through the game, I'd say. Even though I've only got through half of the game, and it's certainly going to get harder as I get to the end of it, I have not found the game to be unreasonably difficult. There are some minor frustrations I have with the game, some little quirks and issues that I find to be unfair about the gameplay that I'll talk about later, but I don't think that's what people are talking about when they say this game is extremely difficult. They just mean like on a base level, you've got to be like MLG Super Smash Bros. Tournament skilled to play this game, and I don't think that's true at all. Now, that's not to say that Cuphead is an easy game. I would not make that argument, and I don't think anyone would really make that argument. But the way the game is, the main thrust of it is these bosses. And the bosses, the first time you fight a boss, you're going to get fucked. But the way the bosses work with the different phases instead of health bars, you just learn what's going on. And once you've learned what's going on, it just comes down to execution. And eventually, it's kind of inevitable, at least I found it to be inevitable, that I'd beat the boss at some point just because I've done it so much and I learn what's going on. The only thing that stood out to me as being unfair about some of the bosses was the element of randomness that was incorporated into some of them. The prime example of this, for me, was Baron Von Sweets, the Candyland-esque boss, she sends out these minions, these mini-bosses, and the order that she sends them out, and there's like 5, and she'll only send out 4, and then the order of the 4 is entirely random. And all the while this is going on, each time you kill one, more elements start coming at you and making it more difficult. And it's the way that it kind of ends up being is that certain mini-bosses are easier or more difficult depending on how far you are into the encounter. So it's like you could be doing well, and then it throws out the one boss that really sucks to have at that point in time in the fight, and you just get fucked. And I found that to be really frustrating, and it led to me spending a lot more time on that boss than I probably should have. But outside of that, the bosses aren't anything too crazy in terms of difficulty. You just keep at it, understand the fight, and eventually you'll probably beat the boss. Now, I enjoy fighting the bosses, and the platforming sections, they're kind of okay too, a little more skeletal, a little less well thought out than the bosses, of course. But, the gameplay overall, competent, good. These are words I would use to describe it. It's not like revolutionary or innovative or even all that memorable. And I think here we're getting to the crux of the problem for this game. It's not a problem for me, since I went into this, I've known about the game and I went into it blind on the first day and without the expectations. But now that there's so much energy and excitement surrounding the game, if someone finds out about the game through that excitement, they find out about it through the kind of memes about the game being so difficult that games journalists can't handle it, and then they go into the game expecting this revolutionarily difficult game or, something crazy, and I just don't think that's there. I was excited to Cuphead, and I came to it because the art style was so unique, so interesting. It's this beautiful hand-drawn game, and it really looks fantastic. It looks unlike anything else, and it's very surreal when you're playing it to see the character move around as if it were any other game, but it does not look like any other game. But that's what I came to the game for. I did not come into the game expecting, mind-blowing gameplay. I was hoping that the gameplay would be good. It looked like it would be good, but that wasn't the main draw here, was not to get this, innovative gameplay. And, maybe this isn't going to be a problem for some people, but if I did not have any prior knowledge of Cuphead and I found out about it through all this fanfare, I would have this unreasonable expectation in my head. Well, it wouldn't be unreasonable. It'd be based off of the fanfare. I'd have this expectation in my head, and then when I got to play the game, I think I might have been a little bit disappointed. Now, I do recommend the game, but I would just ask you, if you did not know about the game beforehand, if you haven't played the game yet, just go in, temper those expectations if you've heard any of this crazy talk about this game, because it's like, to me, this game is something that, it came along, you play it, it's good fun, it's enjoyable, it's like eating, an ice cream or something like that. You finish the ice cream and then you go about your business. It's, nothing more, nothing less. If you've given Cuphead a try, go ahead and let me know what you thought of the game down below, and until next time, thanks for watching.